Hello, welcome to another episode of Upstate Archives. My name is Christina, and each week I sit down with a local expert to dig into the Capital Region's deep and wonderful history. This week I am joined by Chris Hunter, the president of the Museum of Innovation and Science in Schenectady, and we will be talking about the history of the GE Research Laboratory. Thank you so much for joining me, Chris, today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Thank you for having me here.
Of course, of course. So we'll just get right into it. Obviously, General Electric has had a very long relationship with the Capital Region, with Schenectady. Tell me a little bit about just the beginnings of the research laboratory itself. Who founded it? Where exactly was it? Just give us a little intro.
Yep. So just to provide a quick intro on Edison and GE. So Thomas Edison moves his machine works to Schenectady in 1886. Which becomes the main plant for GE in 1892. And in the 1890s, GE's main products are lighting and the machinery that essentially powers the lighting. So by 1900, Edison had developed this carbon filament lamp using thread with carbonized cardboard. And Edison and everyone else is trying to make the better light bulb.
Yeah.
And by 1900, so some of the GE engineers and researchers were beginning to fear that they might not have the best light bulb anymore unless they created a research laboratory.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I gotcha. So you said 1900s when this kind of like really all started to kick in. So tell me a little bit about what did the lab first look like? I mean, we have the giant building right now of GE in Schenectady. What did the beginnings of the building actually look like physically?
Yeah, so in December 1900, two of the top GE kind of researchers / engineers, Elihu Thompson and Charles Steinmetz, finally convinced the management that, yes, they need a research laboratory. But it was really, really quite a bit of an experiment, so they didn't put a lot of money behind it to start. So it actually started in Charles Steinmetz's carriage house.
Really?
Yeah, off of the Erie Canal at Liberty Street in downtown Schenectady.
And how big was this house?
It was just a couple of rooms.
Really?
And it was also where he and his roommates stored their skis and and all their winter gear. So to actually start, in December 1900, the lab started with 2 employees, a part-time MIT professor named Willis Whitney, and then one of Steinmetz's assistants, John Dempster. And Whitney lacked enough confidence in the fact that this was going to work that he kept his teaching job over in Cambridge.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so they weren't really sure how this was going to be
going
down at all. And I can't blame them. I mean, starting off in a little house, 2-room house, that would be a little bit crazy. So they had all of their research equipment there as well, just intermixed with the skis and the other home domestic equipment?
Yeah, it was very basic equipment at the time, probably some meters, some tubes, collections of wire.
Wow, that's crazy. And when did it start to move? When did they move from this house essentially into something a little bit bigger?
Okay, after a couple months, the carriage barn actually burned down.
Oh, okay.
There's actually pictures of it burned, but apparently the worst thing that got damaged were a couple pairs of skis.
Okay.
Thankfully, but they had already kind of proved that they deserved a spot on the main plant.
Okay.
So they went into basically a section of one of the factory buildings, and then it just kind of gradually grew from there. Whitney was convinced that okay, this is going to work, and GE management were convinced that this is going to work. So Whitney stopped his 3-hour plus commute and took on the job full time.
Yeah. So when exactly? Well, I guess where exactly was that plant located at the time? Was it sort of where it is now?
Okay, so when the research laboratory moved into the GE plant, or what they called at the time the works, because it was a whole collection of different factory buildings and product lines. It was actually located where the GE Vernova plant is today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that for years was known as the main plant for not only GE Schenectady, but for GE as a whole.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
And you said earlier that they had sort of proven themselves that they deserved to be in a bigger spot. What were some of the advancements that they were making in those early years to prove that?
So one of the was you've got your light bulb, and you want the light bulb to last longer and essentially use less electricity to do the same amount of work.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
So what Willis Whitney did, he developed something called the gem lamp, which was a true like metal carbon filament. Now they weren't just taking a piece of bamboo or cardboard or thread and kind of carbonizing that, but it was a kind of born carbon filament.
Yeah.
And then they were also working. Another member of the team was working on something called the mercury arc rectifier,
Okay.
which is probably today best known for being an early version of the electric car charger,
Oh, wow.
but was also the first non-mechanical way to kind of transform alternating current electricity to direct current.
Wow. Okay. So that's really impressive. And, I think a question that I've always wondered about with this early history is why did they choose Schenectady to be the place to put this research laboratory and to sort of, I don't know, I guess have General Electric in general?
Okay, so part of that goes back to 1886, and Edison had his main Edison Machine Works down in Lower Manhattan, and he was looking to expand, and land, labor, and capital were all pretty much equally as expensive in Manhattan then as they were now.
Yeah.
So he sent his sales force out looking for kind of vacant factory buildings near a good transportation network, and preferably in an area that might have been a little less familiar with labor unions.
Gotcha.
So one of those sales agents, Harry Livor, was going up to Amsterdam to try and sell some equipment to the carpet mills that were huge in Amsterdam at the time. And in doing that, he passed by the Erie Canal and two vacant factory buildings that were almost but not quite completed. They were kind of the remnants of something called the McQueen Locomotive Works, which Walter McQueen was the chief engineer of the Schenectady Locomotive Works, and he had a falling out with one of his bosses and decided to start his own business, got some financial backing that included members of the Stanford family, of Stanford University fame.
Right.
And then Charles Stanford, his main financial backer, died before the buildings were finished, so McQueen thought it better that he patch up his differences with his boss. So kind of long story short, Edison buys the buildings in June of 1886, and by December has 300 people working there.
Wow.
And kind of gradually Edison kind of consolidated pretty much all of his businesses, all of his electrical businesses, I should say, except for the lighting manufacturing at this Schenectady plant.
Oh.
And then when GE was formed in 1892, a lot of the growth was concentrated here in Schenectady.
Gotcha. So going back to the research laboratory specifically, and, it growing from the 2-room building into, one of the main buildings for GE, how did that affect, you said there were 2 employees at the beginning. How fast did the number of employees begin to grow at this point?
We have a picture of the staff from about 1904, 1905, and there were probably about a little over 24 employees,
Okay.
including one female scientist, Edna May Best.
That's cool. Was she Edna May Best, you said?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, was it common for women to be in the science field at that time?
It wasn't too common at the time, and the other challenge women had at the time is the expectation was once you got married, you left the workforce.
Right.
So she actually got married to one of the other laboratory employees, and then left to raise the family.
Gotcha. I see. So from this point on, as they started, I guess making more and more advancements, tell me a little bit about how did the research laboratory, I guess, sort of affect Schenectady itself as a city, just as a location? Was there a lot of people that were coming in from other locations to Schenectady because of the research lab that was going on here?
Oh yeah. So as the research lab grew and they brought in additional people, Whitney brought in one of his students / colleagues, William Coolidge, to kind of continue working on the electric lighting, and the first real truly home run that the research laboratory hit was developing the ductile tungsten filament for the electric light.
Wow.
And that was kind of a game changer. Tungsten, you could heat it up very hot, but the challenge was it would become brittle. So Coolidge figured out how to make it, not brittle.
Yeah. When did we move on from, I guess focusing on electric lighting? Was there a time where they started, expanding beyond that and going into some other facets of science, I guess?
Yeah. So they brought it. So about 1909, they bring in another scientist named Irving Langmuir.
Okay.
And he's also working on the electric lighting, but then kind of he and Coolidge start looking at kind of other things to do with the light bulb. And kind of out of that came the whole field of electronics.
Oh, wow.
So Coolidge focused on X-ray tubes and making the first X-ray tube where you could actually control the quality of the picture. And then Langmuir kind of set GE down the road of electronic kind of radio and electronic broadcasting.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And, with all of these scientific discoveries that were beginning to take shape at this research laboratory, would you be able to tell me a little bit about how this lab was sort of viewed by other scientists and regions of the world? Was it pretty respected at this time?
Yeah. So one of my favorite artifacts in the museum is the VIP guest book for the research laboratory. And it's got the autographs of 10 Nobel Prize awardees.
Wow.
Who came to Schenectady specifically to see what was going on at the GE Research Laboratory. And these are some of the luminaries kind of pioneering in the field of atomic theory, like Niels Bohr,
Oh, wow.
Max Born, Ernest Rutherford, J.J. Thomson, William Bragg. Even Marconi, who discovered radio, he came to see what was going on. And a kind of radio personality / reporter named Floyd Gibbons kind of coined the phrase "the House of Magic."
Wow. That's a pretty good title. I like that.
Yeah. So it became, what are they working on next at the House of Magic?
Wow, that's really cool. And how long did it stay? I mean, how long did the research laboratory stay at, the present day location of GE Vernova? Did it ever eventually move to another location?
Yep. So in 1950, they moved to the current location in Niskayuna.
Okay.
So they moved about 3 miles to get a larger campus, a campus where they could expand further, and as think also as the projects were changing, as kind of electronics was advancing, they needed different equipment in different locations. If you're working on high magnetic stuff, you want to have that in a separate building from some of the electronics work that you're doing.
Right. That makes sense. And I think this would be a good time to bring us to our first break. So we will be right back. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to Upstate Archives. I'm here with Chris Hunter, the president of the MySci Museum, and we are, or I guess I was a little redundant, sorry, of MySci in Schenectady. We've been talking about the GE Research Laboratory and its history here in the Capital Region. So you just sort of talked about the move from the move of the laboratory to its present Niskayuna location. What were, after this point, and, sort of moving a little bit more towards the present day, what are some other, big discoveries big advancements that were made at the lab at this location?
Yeah, so one of the things GE started focusing on more was materials. So they're building these very large, kind of very complex machines. The steam turbines, the gas turbines, the jet engines. These that are where they're rotating at thousands of times a second, or pardon me, where they're rotating thousands of times a minute.
Oh wow!
And you want the material to be strong. You also want it to be light as possible. Mm-hmm. So in the early 50s, they set up an entire materials building just to work on problems like that. And later in the 50s, they really got strongly into plastics. They developed a bulletproof plastic called Lexan. Oh. And probably one of the first really gigantic announcements that came out of the laboratory, and I think right around Valentine's Day 1955, they announced they made the first laboratory diamond.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah. So they took carbon and put it in this gigantic, probably 20 or 30 foot press, and basically compressed it till it became a diamond.
And is that sort of the same diamonds that we use today and refer to as lab grown diamonds?
Basically, yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, the first diamonds they were basically more like grain size. You have to look at them under a magnifying glass, and I think they really started out using them for things like cutting tools and diamond record needles.
Oh, okay.
But they did keep working, and by the late 60s, they were actually growing gem quality diamonds.
Wow, that's really cool. And so we'll fast forward a little bit to today, to the present day. What is, I guess, the state of the lab today? Has it largely remained the same? Has the campus remained the same? How much has it expanded since it's moved there to in the 50s? What are they sort of working on today?
Yeah. So since the 50s, it did really expand quite substantially. They have a kind of laboratory for manufacturing. So they can do pilot manufacturing tests. In the 70s, they got involved in CT scans and MRIs.
Wow. And
kind of some of the first to bring those technologies to market. So they needed a whole building just to research the giant magnets connected to those. Now in 2024, GE split into three companies. Mm-hmm. So kind of as it split into GE Healthcare, GE Vernova, and GE Aerospace, the research center also split.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of half GE Aerospace Research and then half GE Vernova Advanced Research.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So with that split then, does that mean that the laboratory is sort of now in different locations around Schenectady?
Or it's still focused on the campus was big enough and kind of laid out enough where part of it went to Vernova, part of it stayed with aerospace,
okay.
and then healthcare, I believe, still contracts out to aerospace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha. And, we talked about this earlier. The GE Research Lab started with 2 employees. Do you know about how many employees how many researchers are currently working in the laboratory studies?
It's still well over 1,000, kind of
Wow.
split between the different organizations.
Wow, that's a lot of people. And I think one of the questions that I had, I mean, we have the sort of iconic GE building in Schenectady near Erie Boulevard. I'm just curious, is that at all a part of the laboratory? Was that ever involved with the laboratory?
Yes. Yeah, so in 1914, the laboratory finally got its own building, which known as Building 5, which is the one next to the sign. In 1925, for their 25th birthday, they got Building 37, which the next year then got the 160-foot-long iconic GE sign on top of it. So the sign basically capped off the House of Magic.
Wow, that's really cool. And, was founded around 1900. This month, then, that's going to bring us to the 225th anniversary.
Or 125th.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's why I'm a journalist, not a scientist.
I know, everyone has the 250 on their mind now. So.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry about that. The 125th anniversary is my side excited for this? What is sort of, I guess my overarching question actually is, if people want to learn more about GE, what sort of artifacts does MySci offer that people can go look at, especially as the 125th anniversary approaches?
Let's see here. If you go to MySci today, you can actually see an exhibit about one of the kind of interesting projects they did about cloud seeding and Project Cirrus, and actually being able to produce snow in the laboratory. That was something that scientist Vincent Schaefer did in 1948. And then his co-researchers, including Catherine Blodgett, Irving Langmuir, and Kurt Vonnegut's older brother, Bernard Vonnegut, all kind of worked on this project.
Wow, that's really cool.
Oh yeah, we rotated exhibits and kind of artifacts on a fairly regular basis. So sometimes you'll be able to see some of the early TV equipment, radio equipment. Now some of the early medical imaging devices. We have William Coolidge's collection of probably about 200 different X-ray tubes going back to the year after X-rays were first discovered.
Wow, that's really amazing. And I know you said that one of your favorite artifacts is the VIP book. Is there any other, artifacts that is at MySci that you would consider your favorite?
We've got some of the original diamonds.
Wow.
That were manufactured. We have what's out on display now. We have snowflakes that were captured by Vincent Schaefer.
Oh my gosh.
He captured them and then photographed them. So we have these glass sheets.
Wow.
And kind of one of our most significant artifacts, not relating directly to the research laboratory, but we have in America's oldest playable sound recording, which was made on an Edison tinfoil phonograph in 1878.
Oh my gosh. That's really amazing. Well, I think that'll bring us to the end of our episode today. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining me today. The MySci Museum is amazing.
Thank you.
So many great things there. And thank you all so much for joining us this week on Upstate Archives. Hope to see you next week. Thank you.